I'm not 3 months late, you are. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally come to do the best and worst music of 2023. Now, you might have noticed that it hasn't been 2023 in a couple of weeks now, but we're here now. Best and worst music 2023. It took me so long to make. I've grown a horrible looking beard thing, and I haven't cut my hair in half a year. Anyway, we're going to do this very simply. 15 worst albums, 15 best albums, a couple of honourable mentions as well that I want to throw out. Nonetheless, we're not going to go through the worst albums too much. I'm going to shout out the last 3, the absolutely worst, most horrible, awful ones. And then for the best 15, we're gonna go through them one by one, because I believe those are all albums that deserve to be more recognized and more talked about and that sort of thing. Let us begin. Worst music of 2023. I'm not gonna go through all of them. The reasons they're bad are pretty much the same across the board. Is they sound like shit, and or they're boring, and or horrible people made them. So, that's why these are all here. But we're just gonna go through the 3 worst ones, because those are very special. Number 3. Melanie Martinez. Here's sort of my look on this whole thing, okay? I used to listen to Melanie Martinez a lot. I used to quite enjoy her music. I was 13. It's been a while since then, and I've learned a lot of things about Melanie as a person, and my musical preferences have changed very much. This album not only sucks on its own just because it's incredibly weird and just like a Bjork copycat. You can barely understand anything she says on all the songs, and they're produced like shit, and there's songs where there's just like sounds of like bones breaking and shit. It's weird as fuck. But honestly, the main culprit as to why this is so low is Melanie herself and the kind of person she is, and especially the kind of fan base that she has. It was on a very strong and long crusade together with Brad taste in music against Melanie's fans, who are interesting individuals. I think that's how I say it. I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna increase the volume on it just so it's gonna be as loud as fuck. It's funny shit out. More. Melanie Martinez, not a good person. Not a person you want to be associated with in any sort of way. Basically, she's just a horrible person who made a horrible album. Number 2. This one's gonna be really fun to talk about, especially with all the recent things that came out regarding this person. Dream. Fucking Minecraft YouTuber did like an EP almost album thing last year, and it's absolute fucking ass. Like Dream, I don't remember how old Dream is. He's definitely older than me by a couple of years at least. The lyrics on this album are basically the type of shit that I, an emo kid, wrote in like high school, in early high school, when I wanted to make music but never really did. It's these kinds of lyrics, like high schooler lyrics, and they are awful, god awful, absolutely terrible, horrible, awful. Also, Dream is also a horrible person, and he is associated with a lot of horrible people as well. Also, what the fuck is Young Gravy doing on this? You know, the guy who sampled the Rick Roll for a song?
Never take a L no more, never take a damn thing slow.
Yeah. He's on this album for some fucking reason. Anyway, the worst album of last year. It's very simple, very easy. It's got a 0 out of 100 from me. It's our favorite Skittles man, 6ix9ine. Yeah, you might have not even known that he released an album, but he did. And it's fully in Spanish. Yeah. It's reggaeton. So you can imagine already a really horrible person who makes pretty horrible music now attempts to make a genre that I don't understand why it has so much appeal, and all of it sounds like shit to me. It's pretty awful. It is pretty fucking bad. All the songs sound the same, and it's just horrible, and 6ix9ine isn't that good of a person. The thing is, I used to kind of enjoy 6ix9ine's music, mainly like the very early, just like rage things he used to have. Not anymore, definitely not. And especially not this. This is dog shit. This is absolute dog shit. Oh yeah, there we go, round 2. Oh god, I look horrible on camera as well now. Lovely. So, that's the 3 absolutely horrible things that I had to listen to last year. Before we get to the 15 absolute best, most amazing things that I've heard last year, I've got a couple of honourable mentions. First are honourable mentions that with their scores and with how much I enjoyed them, would be among the top 15 albums, and would put those that are at the bottom away from this list. But, for specific reasons, I couldn't include them. And these 2 records are Tyler the Creator's Call Me If You Get Lost at the Estate Sale. The reason I can't put that in is because it's a deluxe album. And I feel like that isn't really fair because it's already a fantastic album from 2 years before then, with just a couple of songs that are on top of it. I will, however, mention Sorry Not Sorry is the best song of last year. Absolutely, undoubtedly. Sorry Not Sorry is the best song of the entirety of 2023.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I don't see you more. I'm sorry that the 4 minutes where you see a song could feel like a choke.
And then the second record that I did not put among the top 15 is a very small band you also probably haven't heard of. They're called O. It's their EP Slice. Reason I feel like I can't really put it in there is because it's a 4-song EP. They have an album coming out this year I'm very excited for. It's a duo. One plays drums, one plays the saxophone. It's a genre that's called art punk, and it's crazy. Let's go. So for these best albums of 2023, we're gonna go through them one by one. I'm gonna say a couple things about them. I might read part of the review that I wrote for them on AOTY. Number 15.
Give me that mess, give me that root, give me that barber, check out the dudes. I feel like Trump when I step in the booth, yeah, something like Judy, you.
Aaron the Hose, yeah, I'm scared as fuck, man. I'm a hose, my name Hose. We got Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia on a collab album. There's a ton of samples, everything was done on like some old ass sample and drum machine that JPEG Mafia had. And it's great. It's an amazing listen, it's insanely fun. It's insanely creative. But yeah, experimental hip-hop, hardcore hip-hop, it has some amazing fucking songs on it. You're hearing one of them in the background right now, you heard one of them in the transition. And yeah, this is awesome rap. Go listen to it, it's really amazing. And now for something completely different. Number 14. We got an album that managed to get into my top 15 albums of all time, all because of 2 songs at the very end of it. If those 2 songs weren't at the end of the album, it would not be here. Number 13. No one's gonna notice. Some of you might know this. We got some new electronic. We got some very unique, glitchy electronic. It's not gonna be everyone's style for sure, especially considering one of the One of the genres that it encompasses is called sound collage. There's a bunch of spoken word, there's a huge amount of lore nobody knows about, but I think just for the uniqueness of this thing, and the insane genre bends, and just the whole experience of the album, I would say it is very much worth a listen. Yeah, I got a bunch of earwax too. Six Impala's earwax. If you don't know Six Impala, that's completely fine. Who you might know is Underscores, who is a part of Six Impala. This is an absolutely crazy genre-bending electronic, industrial, experimental, deconstruct, just absolutely crazy shit. But I love it. It is so strange and so unique and so just... It's such a weird journey that is very much worth going through if you're down for some weirdness. Just the weirdness and uniqueness of them is a big inspiration for my music. So, number 12. Wow. This is an album that took me a very long time to get through, just because of how huge and grand it is, and how old it is. But eventually I was able to sit down and listen through its entire almost hour and a half long runtime, and it was well fucking worth it. "93696, that's a Travis Scott song. Liturgy with 93696, a avant-garde metal, almost Christian choral chamber progressive thing. The way I described it in my review was brutal and gorgeously terrifying. It's a bunch of insanely ambitious and fantastical ideas put together into something you're just not gonna expect and not gonna find anywhere else, really. It's just nothing I've ever heard before. Number 11. This is one of those, person in one genre switches to a different genre. We have had a few people like this where it did succeed, and a few where it very much fucking didn't. But with this one, it was basically perfect.
Sex symbol, a black symbol.
Yeah, Lil Yachty, Lil Boat, a rapper that I wasn't particularly fond of ever, just because his voice was always very strange for rap for me, and the beats were always kind of weird, and just generally it was kind of growing during a time where I was growing out of rap, personally. I wasn't listening to it as much as I did before. It released completely out of nowhere. It released during a time where there was basically no new music at all. During like the start of the year, nothing really was coming out. And then this dropped, and everyone loved it, including me. Yeah, it's Lil Yachty, but it's psychedelic rock and like a bunch of soul, and it's just a completely different thing than Yachty would ever do, but it works insanely well. This is such a fun project to listen to just kind of turn your brain off to and just vibe and experience it. At some point I want to listen to this album while I'm high as fuck. It's gonna be crazy fucking fun. I'm probably gonna give it another listen at some point. It's been a while since I've heard it, but I remember absolutely loving it, and I think I still will love it, because I love psych rock in general. It's a very unique genre, it can be executed in various different ways, and I think here, especially with Yachty's voice that I didn't like before, it fits here perfectly, and it works so well. Lil Yachty, let's start here. And we can also start here with the album that is on number 10. We are in the top 10 albums of the year now. We're immediately gonna start off with one you might not have heard of, but now that you will hear of it, I hope that you listen to it, because it is very much worth it. Now we are getting to one of the two albums that are gonna be a bit difficult to talk about. One of them, which is specifically this one, is difficult to talk about specifically because of what happened to the band who made this album. The other ones we'll get there a bit later, but this was an album that I was very excited for, and then was even more excited to listen to it, mainly for the prospect of supporting the band because of what happened to them. Polaris's Fatalism is a fantastic metalcore album that just punches you in the face with every song, and for me it just kept getting better and better with every listen. It might get slightly repetitive here and there with some of the riffs and the songs, but every song has something different and unique to it, at least. Even just a tiny thing that just makes it very much worth listening to, especially because of Ryan. Just to put into context, Ryan was a guitarist for Polaris who unfortunately passed away during sometime in the summer of last year, before this album came out, which was a huge hit to all metal fans and especially to the band. I remember because this happened during the time that they were supposed to be playing at Rock for People at a festival here in Czechia. They had to cancel it, I think, a day before because of problems with members, because they just couldn't be there as a full band. And then I think only 2 days after they cancelled their show there and at a bunch of other festivals, they released a statement saying that Ryan has unfortunately passed away. I don't think we fully know why, even though it was a little weird, but nonetheless, it was just insanely saddening to hear that such a talented band lost such a talented member. What I basically just wrote in my review for this was that Ryan would be incredibly fucking proud of them, because this album is crazy good. It's crazy good metalcore, and I think you should very much give it a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe just like let the album play through in the background at least once, just to support them, because they very much deserve it. They were actually supposed to be playing here like 2 or 3 weeks ago in Czechia again, but again they did not, as they had to cancel the Prague and I think also the Poland show because their drummer got sick and they couldn't play, and they replaced him after because he was still sick for later shows. I'm sad I didn't go because the bands who were playing before Polaris were still playing, and the bands that were playing were Pale Dusk, Thornhill, and Silent Planet, which are really good metalcore bands. Especially Pale Dusk. I fucking love Pale Dusk. I fucking love Pale Dusk. Fortunately, didn't go, which is a bummer. But hey, Polaris, Fatalism, awesome metalcore. Go support them, they deserve it. We miss you, Ryan. Hope you're doing well up there. And let's move on, because before I burst into tears. Number 8 is an album from a genre I'm not usually that big of a fan of, because it all feels very samey usually, and something about it just never quite connected with me. But this specific album managed to change it, and I really enjoyed my time with it. It is Sufjan Stevens' Javelin is beautiful. I think that's just the best way to describe it. It is a absolutely gorgeous listen that even maybe almost made me cry at a couple of points. As I sort of say in my review, I'm not usually into singer-songwriter and this like folk type of music, because I always feel like it goes on for a bit too long, but this hits the spot. This is an amazing album that manages to be kind of sad but also really uplifting and really beautiful in both. It's really pretty and also it explores themes that you usually wouldn't explore. This is very much worth a listen. Even if you yourself are into singer-songwriter things, I wasn't either, but I still loved it, and I think it's amazing, and go listen to it. That's all I can say. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Number 3. We're already on 33 minutes of video. Jesus, this is gonna be a pain to edit. Would be correct, Bass Adam. It is a pain to edit. It's also almost May, and I'm still not done. Number 7. 7th best album of the year. I think what you would essentially call a supergroup. It is a group of 3 very talented female singers who got together to make a really good indie rock album, and just makes me want their individual albums even more now than ever before. Especially Phoebe.
It's a bad idea, and I'm all about work.
We got a band who almost always sort of lightly adjust their genres with every album. And they essentially went from, one of the best you could describe as emo bands of the early to late 2000s to now doing this indie rock, dance punk, I see in here post-punk revival thing that is honestly the best the band has ever sounded, ever, in their entire existence. Paramore's This Is Why. I still don't know why, but this is why. It's just great. I love Hayley Williams. That's one big key part of why I love this album so much. But also, it's insanely unique. It's a great ride. I have a ton of cool ideas on it. Honestly, just the song This Is Why is, for me, why I love this album so much, because just that song alone is so amazing. It almost improved everything else on the album for me. It's a great and fun and occasionally tiny bit sad, but otherwise really good album with a ton of great social commentary on it as well, and you should definitely listen to it. Please. Please listen to it. We are now getting into the top 5 albums of last year. These are my absolute most favorites. If we had a top 5, not of all time, but of 2023, they would all be sitting up here. One of them is already on here. An artist who has a top 5 album of all time for me in here also had a top 5 album of last year. You know who it is, come on. I was cautiously optimistic for Underscore's War Socket, because many times I was hyped for an album and ended up being quite disappointed. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that I was a bit pessimistic about it and, didn't force myself to be as excited for it as I could have been, because my expectations were absolutely blown out of the park with this thing. Holy fuck. April, you're a goddess, and this album is amazing. I think I personally still like Fishmonger a tiny bit more, but it really is like by a hair. It really is just like the long shoegaze part in Dry Latin that kind of, pushes it above for me. But Warsocket is absolutely fantastic. It's a crazy good ride. The story within it are insane. It has a song within my, best songs or best albums and songs of the year that made me cry. I saw Underscores live again in Prague in December, and during the song You Don't Even Know Who I Am, I was just crying the entire time. There's a ton of really interesting social themes, a ton of really cool themes of transitioning, and you really can't expect... Why the fuck did it get so dark out of nowhere? Jesus Christ. You really don't know what to expect with every song that comes on, because you go from this sort of post-punk rocky anthem into just like a new rave song, into then just this much quieter, saddened, still kind of punky but really weird song. It's just a crazy good journey that is absolutely worth listening to. And if you still haven't, I will find you and I will make you listen to it. Number 4. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I already have it.
I'm the dumbest girl alive. I took 10 of pills today. I got bruises on my thighs. Plus I gave away.
We Got the Geckos. An album that was absolutely worth the wait, that I've grown to love even more than when released. I did, half a year ago, I did a sort of my vinyl collection walkthrough video where that album already was. I said how much I loved it, and since then I kind of honestly love it even more than before. And it's honestly for all of the same reasons that I love the Underscores album, of just how unique and different every song is as you go through it. And also because Geckos just manages to do everything so insanely well. There's so much detail in every little song that even though the entire album is just like 26 minutes long and 10 songs, it feels like it goes on forever, and that's not a bad thing. That's a very good thing, because this album is crazy, amazing hyperpop. Not just hyperpop at that point, it's a bunch of alt-rock, pop-punk, ska. There's this absolutely fucking insane, like, new metal breakdown in all of the songs. It's amazing. It is. Go listen to it. I am now going to say Gex 10,000 times. Gex, 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 Gex. Number 3. So you know how I mentioned before that we had 2 albums within my top 15 where I felt it would be difficult to talk about it because of something. We have this one that is from a person who is currently being sued for not very nice activities with women. Let's call it that. They pled not guilty. We haven't heard absolutely anything since then. You know, in this case where you don't have concrete proof, unlike with Melanie Martinez, I can justify separating the art from the artist and saying this album is absolutely fucking amazing, no matter who made it.
Whispers wide avoid make me act impulsively. My touch corrosive, I've been trying to OD.
It's an album about me. Yes, it is lo-fi and it is ugly. The album very much is not ugly. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is, again, sort of a genre switch for Slow-Tie, at least in certain parts, going from his sort of classic British rap that he did into more of a sort of punky and rock-like sound. And it is done insanely well. Like, crazy good. There's a ton of amazing songs on this, a ton of really depressing songs on this. So, songs like Never Again are just absolutely heart-wrenching. Did almost make me cry as well. I was very much on the edge of tears when I heard it for the first time. This thing is very much worth listening to. Even if the very tail end gets like a tad bit, you could say boring or just sort of samey, it is still very much worth listening to. And I really hope that Slow Tide didn't do the things that he is now being sued for, and we can get more Slow Tide music as soon as possible. Number 2, do you remember a few minutes ago when we were talking about Squid's O Monolith, that there is this album called Dog's Body, and that O Monolith is a prettier version of Dog's Body? Here's Dog's Body. God, this album is fucking terrifying and ugly and disturbing and fucking insane and amazing, and holy shit, I fucking love it. This album is like watching a grindhouse horror movie. You just never know what's around the corner. There's just these insane blares of noise going on. It manages to be insanely noisy and loud and also really danceable at the same time somehow. I don't have words to describe this album. More than just terrifying and yet beautiful at the same time. Go listen to my actresses Dog's Body. They fucking deserve it. Those guys are legends. This album is amazing. All I'm gonna say for number 1 is it is an album that honestly is very close to replacing My Chemical Romance up there. It's not quite there, but it's very close to it. It's an album I didn't expect would be as good as it was. And it's an album that I heard 3 times in a row on the day it came out, and it made me cry twice. How does she do it? I saw a lot of complaints from people that Jane overcooked on this album. And you could very much see that and say that. It's a shoegaze noise rock album that just gets almost too noisy. But for me, that's kind of the point. For me, just the amount of sheer distortion and noise in every guitar feels very intentional. The story Jane tells through this album is just gut-wrenching. So the vocal delivery on that is not nearly as samey as something like Frailty, and always is unique. Can it be hard to understand what she is saying? Yes. Do some of the songs sound kind of similar to other songs? Yes. But honestly, it is worth it for just the journey of listening to this. I pretty much always got this moment in the song where it would just be the vibe of the song and then one specific lyric that Jane would say that would just crack me. I would start crying. This is an absolutely amazing album. Dead Air, please re-release the vinyls. I really want to get a designated vinyl. And yeah, that's it. We have top 15 albums. We go through the best music of last year. And before I say goodbye, I'm very quickly going to go over what's happening next year. Or, well, this year. Most anticipated albums of 2024. I do already have a couple of them reviewed. We had Quadeca Scrapyard, fantastic. We had Glass Beach's Plastic Death, also fantastic. A very small noise metal band called Falling of Scissors has a 93 from me. It could very much be the best album of the year already. And then it came out in February. It's awesome. We had Pale Dusk's EP finally releasing. It was good. I was hoping for better, honestly. We had Schoolboy Q come back completely out of nowhere with a really good rap album. We also had some very bad albums. 6ix9ine came back again. He's not doing reggaeton anymore, but it's still absolute fucking garbage. Also Lil Dicky and Kanye. Just no. But we have a bunch of upcoming albums that I just want to quickly throw out here and say I'm very excited for them and I hope they're gonna be really good. Knocked Loose, motherfucker. Holy shit, I'm super fucking hyped for them. I saw them live in February. It was my first ever hardcore show. And I'm very glad I went there. It was fucking insane. We also have my annoying era coming back. 21 Pilots is releasing an album. I am going to be so fucking annoying to everyone around me. I already am. I'm super hyped for that album. We also have Bring Me's Posthuman Next Gen, which was supposed to come out last year, but didn't, because it got postponed. But we should be getting it by summer, according to AOTY. And I'm also going to be seeing them in the summer on Rap for People. I'm really excited for that. I hope it does finally come out. Charlie XCX is releasing an album, which I wouldn't really be that excited for if it wasn't for Von Dutch being an absolute fucking banger. Holy shit, that song goes crazy hard. Also, there's supposed to be a bunch of JPEG Mafia albums this year, so let's hope those also happen, because they still haven't been released, even though he said early this year. It's not out, so we'll see. That's everything from me. It's a very long video, it's probably very boring as well, but I don't care. I hope you've enjoyed it nonetheless if you've gotten all the way to this point. You can follow me on AOTY to always see how I rate albums I listen to, and some reviews here and there as well. Follow me on Instagram for updates. I have a Twitter now as well, you can go down and follow it. If you need editing done, I got a Fiverr, or I got an email you can email me at. And yeah, I'm gonna be streaming here and there. I'll try to do at least once a week, but hopefully more often. Nonetheless, thanks for watching. See you sometime else in another life, in another video, in something. That was a weird fucking outro. Just fuck off already.